this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
You're about to listen to a special edition of the Late Round Fantasy Football Show, which was recorded at Radio Row prior to this year's Super Bowl. If you want to watch it, you can find it on YouTube as well, youtube.com/@LateRoundFF. The format's a little bit different than usual, but we hope that you still get a lot from listening to the show. Next week, we'll be back in our normal schedule, but for now, we hope you enjoy.
Welcome in to the Late Round Fantasy Football Show, live from Super Bowl LX Radio Row here on the iHeart and NFL Podcast Network set. JJ, how are you feeling right now?
Right now, pretty good.
Yeah.
We just had a pretty hilarious experience here on Radio Row.
An awesome moment. I just want to take people behind the scenes because that's why people enjoy what we're doing here. But we saw Joe Flacco.
We did.
And you're like, there's Flacco.
Well, the reason that the Flacco thing matters is because for literally my whole career in this fantasy space, people have said that Joe Flacco's my doppelganger.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to meet him and get a picture with him.
Yeah. And so there's he's late for, whoever he was with, he's late for an interview. And so you and I were about to start this show. And then I just hear in my, headphones, hey, am I too late for the shot? And you didn't see it. And so you're taking a selfie trying to make sure your hair is okay.
That's right.
And we turn around. It's Joe Flacco. And we took a picture.
Yes.
So now we know that Joe Flacco and JJ are not the same person.
And to be clear, I took off my glasses for the picture because that would give the full effect of the doppelganger. Yeah. He's actually walking behind us here in a second, so you might even be able to catch it. But it was awesome. Yeah. This is what Radio Row is about. It's just, again, said it yesterday on the show, you're connecting with players in a different way that you typically are able to from a fantasy perspective, and you're able to see the human side to it. And it's great that we got to exchange handshakes with Mr. Flacco.
It is surreal. JJ, you think about where you started from mom's basement. Yeah.
Mom's basement to Radio Row, baby.
That's right. We're looking right now at T.O. and Mantateo and all the guys.
Kyle Brandt was over there.
Yeah. Right next to us. And here we are talking about fantasy football. That's living the dream, JJ. I want to just remind people to subscribe to our YouTube, obviously, and go and sign up for lateround.com, the free newsletter that we have. And if you want to, we've already had a few people come up to us here at the Super Bowl and say they're Prospect Guide users. If you want to, the Prospect Guide is now available to pre-order at lateround.com. So with that being said, JJ, let's get on to today's news.
Today's fantasy news.
All right, not a lot of news today.
But we got news overnight, which is cool that we can still do the news segment.
We didn't think we were going to do news.
Yeah.
We got news.
Yeah.
So obviously we're in here and we have our sheet that we've been working on as far as head coaches and offensive coordinators, and it's almost full because we have I'm gonna let you say, since you're the Pittsburgh guy, JJ,
bro,
I'm gonna let you say the new offensive coordinator,
Brian. No. It's so what I've gathered, because I don't know much about him, to be clear, this is going to be more off the cuff, but Brian Angelico.
Yeah.
Angelico.
I don't know what it is.
But yeah, he was a pass game, sort of like a pass game assistant for Minnesota. He's now taking over as offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. I was, as I said yesterday, I was a little bit intrigued by Scott Tolzien, and then obviously we had Josh Johnson talk about how he, like, a lot of these backup quarterbacks are like brilliant minds of the game, and I think that we're seeing that trend, throughout the NFL. This hire, it's funny, if you look at the Mike McCarthy staff and what he's putting together, you get a lot of Packers guys and look, when you hire somebody, and I know this from experience, hiring you, Kitchen. When you hire someone, you want someone that you can trust, someone that you have rapport with, all of that. I thought you were going to
say a wild card.
No, you don't. And so, I get when coaches go out and they get, other coaches that they've already coached with and they're comfortable with. And with this, if you look at Angelicchio's history and past, or Angelicchio, I think might even be the pronunciation.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You guys know that I'm a stickler for pronunciation,
Yeah.
so it's really tilting me that I'm not able to.
We don't have that.
Really
It is
nail
literally
this.
just broke, so we don't have that much information about him.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
His name's not out there.
It did just break.
Yeah.
But regardless, and I know that there's going to be Vikings fans that are like, in the mentions being
Right.
like, "What you guys can't pronounce his last name?" All right, try pronouncing my last name, buddy. But anyway, like with him, he has a history. He was in Green Bay. So there's a Green Bay tie. Not only that, Kitchen, but you get a Pitt Panthers tie. He was a coach at Pitt, which again, Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh guy. There's all these ties. He was at Pitt as well. There's all of these ties to both Pittsburgh and Green Bay with this McCarthy staff. If you guys, if you're bored at work one day and you want to just look at the Steelers staff, go coach by coach and look at their history and see how tied they are to McCarthy and Green Bay or like Pitt. And it's cool from my perspective as a Pitt alum.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have mentioned that to Flacco. He went to Pitt to start.
You should have.
Yeah. Oh man, I just forgot. Just should have done that. But there's. I don't know how to really feel about the hire from like a fantasy perspective. Obviously, he's been touched by Kevin O'Connell, who has been known to be a passing game guru, if you will, or someone that we care about a lot from a fantasy perspective. A lot of his quarterbacks, even when Kirk Cousins went down, a lot of even like Josh Dobbs was fantasy relevant and stuff in Minnesota. Now, obviously, you had JJ McCarthy this past year, and things didn't go very well there, and you might question the timing of a hire like this. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's just one of those situations where like we don't know for sure how this is really going to play out, and I don't want to pretend like I do.
Okay. Let's move on to someone who we also are not sure exactly how it will play out. The New York Jets found an offensive coordinator in Frank Reich.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just another one of those, like, uninspiring type hires, a Matt Nagy type hire.
No, I don't think it's quite to the Nagy level.
I don't know, man. The last time we saw Reich, the Panthers were rough.
Yeah.
Were rough. And then if you guys recall, when Reich got fired for Carolina, they started playing better. Like there was a night and day kind of switch. And then obviously they went out and they got Canales, and things have been a lot better with Canales. And so, I question it from that perspective. There's some history there where he's been okay. I just, there's not much going on in New York right now from the standpoint of like, we don't even know who that starting quarterback is going to be next year. And so, you're putting your trust and your faith in someone who, in my opinion, I would rather have, again, this is probably a bias because of what we do with fantasy football and like what we love, but I would rather have sort of like a young up and comer kind of teach whatever quarterback they bring in as opposed to a guy like Frank Reich. But again, I don't know for sure. I don't know how this is going to go down. I personally am just not bullish on the Jets coaching staff and situation right now with Aaron Glenn in the way that things have just generally gone down. When you have to fire your entire coaching staff after a year,
right?
I question your ability to hire the right people.
Yeah. And in New York, we're just not sure. This is also pre-draft, and things could change as far as how the draft goes. So, things can change, and we're all about giving people grace and second, third, fourth chances, and see how it works.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get on to today's data.
Today's data.
All right, JJ, you have MVP.
This is simple. This is probably the simplest today's data that we've ever done, ever. I'm just doing it quick.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I have just the MVP count, and I looked at this last night and I was like, why did I say that Hunter Henry was a sneaky MVP candidate?
Yeah.
When there hasn't been a single tight end to win Super Bowl MVP in the history of the game?
Is extra sneaky.
Apparently, that was a really
yeah. But we've also seen how tight ends have just risen up the ranks now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a different game.
We are literally having tight end profiles in the prospect guide for the first time.
That's true.
Because of the importance of tight ends.
That's true. So, I mean, look, the take stands. It's already out on the internet, so it's got to stand. But it's really, I mean, it's not surprising. If you look at the 60 Super Bowls that we've seen over the last, over the last 60 years,
right?
Quarterback has won MVP 34 times. Not that shocking.
Yeah.
Wide receivers next at 8, and then running back at 7. I would be shocked in this environment, in this game, and we're going to get to the Seattle stuff here in a second. I would be shocked if a running back, not shocked, but surprised if a running back did win Super Bowl MVP this year just based on matchups and such. Wide receiver, of course, a guy like JSN. I even think Stephon Diggs is, I talked about yesterday, is not in a bad situation. But yeah, so like linebackers had 4, and then you just get under 4 with like defensive ends, safeties, corners. We had a returner in Desmond Howard. And so it's more than likely going to be quarterback. We all knew that, but I'm just throwing that data out there. You guys can visually see it on YouTube to know which direction you might want to go with some of these MVP bets.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are used to today's data being stuff that it takes them a little while to wrap their heads around. Sometimes it's nice, just hey, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main event.
The late round main event.
All right, JJ, we did New England yesterday.
Yeah.
You gave the reasons that you might want to take New England.
Yeah.
Now let's do the favorites for Seattle.
Yeah, so let's look at what Seattle is going to do. I think this matchup is way more interesting than others do. There's been a lot of talk about Seattle just destroying New England. I think that's an outcome for sure, but I don't think that's a lock at all. So Seattle's had a really run-heavy approach this year. From a pass rate over perspective standpoint, they're the 3rd lowest in the league, behind only Baltimore and the Jets. We know the Jets love to just establish it for whatever reason. And then, more than likely because their quarterback situation this past year. But then, the Ravens, obviously Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. But those are the only 2 teams that were more run heavy from a pass rate over expected standpoint than Seattle. Seattle's had but while Seattle's been run heavy, they've been bottom 10 in rushing EPA per rush and success rate. And so they're not that efficient running the ball. Now, part of that could easily just be like game script and the fact that teams know what's coming late in games when Seattle's leading and they're grinding clock, but they haven't been that efficient running the football. Now, you look at New England's side on the defensive side, Milton Williams is probably the biggest and most important player on defense in this game, maybe aside from a Christian Gonzalez, just based on the JSN matchup, but Milton Williams, he missed time this year, week 11 through 17, because he left early in week 11. The Patriots allowed nearly twice as many rushing yards per game when Milton Williams was out of that lineup. And then when you look at when Williams has been active, stacked boxes on defense have come at a bottom 10 rate. So essentially, Milton Williams allows the Patriots to not have to stack the box nearly as much when he's active because he's such a beast there on the line. And there was a really interesting tweet from Pete Collins of the Fox Fellas podcast. They cover the Patriots, but Kenneth Walker, okay, he has the 4th best rushing yards over expected and the 6th best success rate against stacked boxes. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he can break those big plays. He's also a bruiser. Like, he can get it done between the tackles. But he's been bottom 10 against neutral and light boxes. And so what I think is going to happen is New England is not going to have to stack the box to stop the run against this Seattle rushing attack. And so I think New England is going to be able to stop the Kenneth Walker and company. Like Milton Williams being active, being there, he's a big presence. They should be able to stop the run without having to stack the box. And as we know, that's going to allow for more coverage. And that's, again, when I was talking about the MVP stuff with the running backs, I'm a little bit worried about Kenneth Walker.
We've also seen Kenneth Walker. He likes to create.
Yeah.
And if there's stacked boxes, it's just like a lot of negative plays.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But the thing with Walker is that when he creates, he can break out. Like, stacked boxes, one of the things that's kind of a misconception is that there's a lot of big plays that happen against stacked boxes because you don't have those safeties back there or corners playing. They're playing up tighter.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, these running backs can break free.
Yeah.
And there's no defenders in the secondary and they're just gone, right? Yeah. That doesn't make that much sense to do that against a player like Walker, who's a home run threat. And I think New England can stop them because of Milton Williams. So now we go to the passing attack. This game, it's obviously, it's a quarterback driven league, but my gosh, this is just going to come down to Sam Darnold. Like, how is Sam Darnold going to see ghosts in this game, against New England? Seattle, they were 8th best in EPA per dropback this year. New England was 9th best in EPA per dropback allowed. So it's kind of a strength versus strength situation. But to be fair, that's not a schedule adjusted metric there. That's only looking at how New England performed, regardless of who they faced. Seattle establishes the run, and they do that because they want to get the play action game going. Now, there's a lot of research that's been done to show that rushing effectiveness does not actually help or dictate how well a team can be with play action. I think Seattle's actually a pretty good example of that because they just run the ball a lot. They're not overly efficient doing so, but they're running the ball a lot, and then they run play action. Seattle was first in percentage of yards coming from play action this year. They were 10th in play action rate. They were first in EPA per dropback on play action passes. Then the question is, how does New England defend against those play action passes? Well, this year, they were 11th best in EPA per dropback on defense against play action. They were average in yards per play action pass allowed. You adjust that a little bit, maybe you'd say they're average to below average at stopping play action. But here's the really interesting thing, Kitchen, is that one particular thing to call out here for the Seattle offense, the Patriots are first in quarterback pressure rate when they're facing play action passes, which means they could get to Sam Darnold hypothetically on those plays. And so I do think the overall advantage on these play action passes goes to Seattle, but there is at least a little bit where New England can win. Now, speaking of getting to Darnold, let's look at pressuring Sam Darnold. Okay, we want to see if he's going to see ghosts this, on Sunday. Darnold's been above average in pressure to sack ratio this year, so that's good. But when pressured, Seattle actually has a bottom 10 EPA per dropback in the league, and that's largely due to turnovers, not sacks. So New England can hypothetically generate those sacks, and then those turnovers might just come naturally because that's what happens with Sam Darnold when he is under pressure. New England was 10th in pressure rate this year, again, unadjusted for strength of schedule. But the one thing to point out is that in the playoffs and recently down the stretch, they've been blitzing more. Among their top 8 blitz rates this season in a single game, 5 of them have come over the last 5 games. So this is my prediction for this game, Kitchen. I think what we're going to see from this New England defense is they might not be able to generate pressure naturally like Seattle can on the defensive side. I think New England's going to send the blitz a lot because they're underdogs in this game. They're going to create a more high variance environment for the Seattle passing attack. And what that means is the potential for a lot of sacks, a lot of turnovers, and then the opposite can happen too, where they just beat them over the top and they destroy them that way. So I think that when you bring this all together, who would benefit from that? I think it's a higher variance passing attack for Seattle. JSN's likely going to get his, even with Christian Gonzalez on him. Team wide receiver ones have actually been fine against New England, despite the fact that they have Christian Gonzalez. And if Darnold is blitzed, I think he's going to look for his first read, and that's JSN. But if New England doesn't go blitz and pressure heavy, AJ Barner might be kind of sneaky. So here's another.
You love those sneaky tight ends.
I know New England was 6th in adjusted target share allowed to tight ends, but I think that if we do see New England blitz a lot, they're going to need that extra blocker and that extra help. So we might not see as many routes run for AJ Barner. So let's just wrap all of that up. Yeah. Okay, let's just bring it all together.
Key takeaways.
So New England has an advantage, I think, at stopping the Seattle rushing attack. But I think that Seattle has an advantage still by just going with volume on the ground and then running play action, right? Because they've been really good at that. That's a Kubiak staple. So you would expect, I think, New England to blitz heavy, make it a higher variance passing offense for this Seattle offense, and see if Sam Darnold can beat them that way. Like force Sam Darnold to win this game. So I truly think that this game is going to come down to Sam Darnold being able to escape that pressure, read the blitz, get the passes out quick, and because I don't expect the run game to really be there for them. So I'm bullish on JSN. I'm not bullish on Kenneth Walker. And if you want my sneaky MVP,
I was about to say
another sneaky MVP. So we had Hunter Henry yesterday. My sneaky MVP for this game. Okay, so if New England blitzes a lot, that's going to leave a lot of potential down the field. How about Rashid Shaheed?
Yeah,
because not only could we see a special teams play happen, which obviously would boost his ability to be MVP, but I think there's going to be softer coverage down the field, and he is a field stretcher. Yeah. He can definitely create those plays, especially if he's one-on-one, if they're blitzing a lot. So Rashid Shaheed, kind of interesting. I think, he's a very high variance play because this all depends on how New England ends up attacking.
He's also an unrestricted free agent next year. Oh. So might be playing for a little bit of something other than just a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the Super Bowl as far as how it affects the offseason.
Yeah.
As far as
always, yeah.
Yeah. So-and-so has a good game, so-and-so has a bad game. Yeah. That recency bias will affect things. So, all right. Do you have a final pick prediction for this game?
I'm going really chalky. I've been saying this on other shows too, that I've done, but I think Seattle wins this game. I said it's going to be high variance. I think there is an out for them to crush them for sure, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer. Yeah. I personally did bet Seattle minus 4.5, and I'm like, maybe I don't know if I should have gone that with that line. But regardless, I have Seattle 24, New England 20 in this game. But look, guys, I'm not writing off New England. They have been a very good team all year who obviously, face an easier schedule, but they've gotten it done against that schedule. And as I said yesterday, there are parts of this game offensively for New England where they can take advantage of a spectacular Seattle defense. But I think analytically, if you bring it all together, it's hard to say that, I think the line is pretty on point for this game.
Yeah, I would expect, I'm going to say 31-21.
Okay.
Seattle.
Okay.
And I think I'm just going to predict we talk about key takeaways, a key takeaway for the Seattle defense.
Yeah.
So I could see a strip sack, I could see a pick six, something. It's crazy having that much confidence in Sam Darnold, but he played so good last game.
He played great last time we saw them. So it's I think that, if I'm just being honest, like I don't think we can look at this in such a concrete way because if it's a Tom Brady Super Bowl, when you have known entities at quarterback, it's a lot easier to project.
Yeah, like is there any outcome that will really surprise us?
No.
Right.
And like both of these guys could completely, S the B, or they could completely dominate. I wouldn't be surprised at either outcome because they're both, that's the way that they've, with Darnold, that's the way his career's gone, and with Drake May, that's the way his season has gone. He's been awesome.
That's right. So that'll conclude our Super Bowl LX analysis part of this. Now we're going to get to some fun stuff as far as player interviews, and we're going to ask some questions as far as I don't know, do you think these questions will influence how you do things?
I mean, we'll see how they answer.
Right. All right. We are with someone who people are going to recognize from the fantasy scene because they had high hopes and they paid off last year. It's T-Mac with the Panthers. T-Mac, welcome to the show.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah, man, I got to ask you first, what was that transition like for you? Going from, you've now played a year in the league. What was that like going from Arizona and then going to Charlotte and playing for the Panthers?
It's just different. It's kind of in college, you play with the same guys pretty much for 3 to 4 years. So. Yeah. Just being able to be on a new team with new people and new faces is different. Yeah. So, it's kind of just a new beginning. And, but I'm super grateful.
Yeah. I want to talk about that offense that you played in this past year. You have a really young wideout core there. Obviously, the get was already there whenever you showed up, and Coker was too. And then we're cokeheads here. We're big Jalen Coker guys, right? But what was that like? Because obviously you had Thielen there at the start of the year, and then he gets traded. And you guys didn't necessarily have that guy that had been there for a ton of time. It's a young offense. Was that difficult for you guys, or did you have the leadership in the locker room to kind of help you out there?
Yeah, it was easy. Like you said at first, Adam was still there. So, he kind of just taught me the ropes. Obviously, it was my first year, but, he kind of instilled into Xavier and Jalen the year prior just to give them what they need to be successful. And then he did the same for me when I got in. So he kind of already set the standard, gave us the wisdom and knowledge. Just a quick brief as far as, what to expect from the league and what to do, how to win this and how to do that. And, but as soon as he left, just realized we all had to flip a switch. Like you said, we're a young receiver core. Just realized that, they're counting on us and they believe in our young guys to make plays. So, we kind of just took that with a grain of salt and, we took advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
From a fantasy standpoint, this is your rookie year. So first time being in the fantasy football scene. Did that change anything for you? You're getting shout outs on socials or anything?
Basically what we're asking, were people obnoxious? Was it real talk? Was it obnoxious? We can't stand because the fantasy football world is great for the game and from our perspective, but there's also just morons out there that hate on players when it's not their fault, or just it's stupid. But what was your general experience with fantasy football? Like you being a rookie this past year.
I didn't really get too much of the heat.
Good. You shouldn't have.
Yeah. Like you said, I feel like when you're one of those players that people expect a lot from you, then you get the hate. So, but I wasn't really one of those players this year.
Yeah,
so.
But you're a household name now. Now in the fantasy circle, you're a household name heading into year 2. That's a pretty big jump as far as we've seen from rookies to year 2. What's some of the things that you think that you might want to change going into year 2?
Work on
your game.
I feel like it was a big switch for me as far as going from college to the league with the refs. The refs was a big difference.
Interesting.
Just because, I got a lot more calls. I earned my stripes in college to where, I got some calls, but this year being a rookie, I learned that I got to earn my stripes again to get some calls.
Yeah.
So just being, as the year went on, I realized like how I'm able to play, what I can get away with, what I can't get away with. Just being able to be more physical. And like I said, the rest let us play. So just got to get used to that.
So one thing that I loved when I was prospecting you is that you did a lot of inside out stuff. I mean, you played a decent amount in the slot, like 25% slot rate or so when you were in college. You didn't quite get to that mark, and obviously personnel is going to dictate that. A guy like Coker can really play in that area. Do you see as you move forward in your career, because there's players out there like a CeeDee Lamb, for instance, who got a lot done out of that area of the field, and that obviously is one where you can take more advantage from a matchup standpoint. You're going to want studs in there to be able to do that. Do you think that moving forward, there's a chance we see, because especially from a fantasy perspective, we get a little bit more of that output from you whenever you're able to get in the slot more?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a big thing for me coming out of the draft, where I feel like I was set apart from every other receiver in the draft was my versatility.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do everything, play inside and outside, run every route in the route tree while being 6'4", being the bigger receiver. And I want to play wherever I can play. Like,
right.
I feel like I can play everywhere, inside, outside. But I mean, the people saw when we played the Falcons. I was able to have the equal amount of reps or targets or something from the slot than I was outside.
Of course,
and I was probably my biggest game in the league. So, obviously I'm hoping for a lot more of those. But like you said, we have a lot of people that can take up that role.
Yeah.
Like Coke, he can play inside, he can play outside, and we got a bunch of playmakers on our offense. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What's the vibe in that wide receiver locker room as far as Xavier Legette, Coker, all those guys? Xavier Legette obviously is is a different guy down south. So what's the vibe like in the locker room?
I mean, man, our receiver room is jokes, man. Yeah. We have a wide variety of people. Obviously we have X, we have Coke, and then a lot of people don't realize, but we got Jimmy in there. He's a different guy himself.
Yeah.
He's one of those interesting guys, and we have people in that locker room from every aspects of life. So our room and our locker room is very diverse, and it's jokes, man. We have a lot of fun in there.
Can you talk a little bit about Bryce and what you've seen from a development standpoint, even this year as you played with him, and what you kind of expect? And I think the real takeaway that I want is, what do you think that you see, the team sees, that maybe the rest of the world doesn't see with him as a quarterback?
I don't know. I feel like he's up to par with some of the best in the league. And people don't really see that. People don't really give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
They obviously, you see a bunch of people saying that other quarterbacks are better than him, but he might have had a better year. But people don't really realize that. And I got to give credit to Bryce, because obviously when he came in the league, he was put in a terrible situation.
Very bad situation.
But his third year in the league, he was able to take the team to a playoff. So that's everything you want in your franchise quarterback. So. And obviously, he's a good player, but I think he's an even better person. He's one of those dudes that, that people play for, and also at the same time that one of those dudes where he want to play for others. He always puts the team before himself, and a very humble dude. So, I give him a lot of respect for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's just like more mobile than people realize too. Would you agree? Like it feels like people just they look at the Lamars, etc. Obviously, he's probably not on that level from an athleticism standpoint and ability to create those plays, but the dude has jets. Like, he can make those plays out of the pocket, and it just feels like that there's not enough love in that part of his game too.
Yeah, he has a great ability of extended plays, and most of our big plays were on extended plays.
Right.
And that was due to him and him moving out the pocket, being mobile, and he's really good at that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, any players that you kind of look up to, you want to model your game after, being a rookie year in the league?
No.
Yeah.
No, I
like that answer. All right. So you're T-Mac, you were here with Spam. Your shirt says Spam versus everybody. Tell us about it.
It's something that I grew up on. I grew up in my family from Hawaii, so we grew up on Spam, and we ate Spam with pretty much everything. But I'm fortunate enough to be the first ever NFL athlete to partner with Spam, and obviously it's been something that I grew up on, like I said, so it's a lifelong dream for me to be able to partner with somebody that I'm familiar with, and Spam versus everybody, man. So.
Yeah, love it.
That's awesome. Well, we have T-Mac here. T-Mac, really appreciate you spending time with us, and good luck in the year 2.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thanks, man.
All right.
All right, I am happy to introduce our next guest because he just has this certain vibe around him.
Your energy is wild.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. It's the best.
It is awesome, especially for a wide receiver. It's Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick, welcome to the Late Round Fantasy Football Show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, bro. Pleasure to meet you guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I got to first talk about, obviously you were with New England last year. They're in the Super Bowl right now. I want to talk, though, about Drake May.
Yes.
Did you, when you caught your first pass from him, did you just know? Like, what was it immediate? This dude is disgusting.
That's a great question. So, yes, when I first noticed, it was actually not to me. I was just watching him on the sideline, and he went through his full progression, like almost 5 reads.
Yeah.
And he got to 5. He moved a backer and then went back to 4, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
And that's a 22-year-old, right? Because he's a younger rookie.
Exactly. And I was like, "Bro, he just got me." So, but he knew he was skipping just to move. He knew he was processing it that fast, and I was like, "Bro, he was a rookie." And so after that, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is exciting. He's going to be special." So that was my story about him.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, so obviously you were with San Francisco this past year. You guys went through a lot of injuries, a lot of stuff going down. We remember you from the fantasy world. Do you know what I'm about to say? Yeah. We remember that Rams game.
Crazy.
we remember that Rams game. You go absolutely nuts. Did you know going into that game that you were going to be a focal point of that offense? And I have some follow-ups about that too. But did you know going in that this was going to be you?
Yes, I Kyle. I think Ricky went down. I think JJ was down too. So my opportunity presented itself. They're like, "Hey, you're going this week. You're the one. We need you to." You know what I'm saying? Be ready. And I understand that already. They didn't even have to tell me, but I just kind of knew going into practice, had a great week of practice, connecting with Mac. And I didn't know it was going to be that crazy because I never went for a game like that. You know what I'm saying? I did it in year 9, which is just a blessing. My best game was like 100 yards in New England, like 100 on the dot. So it was just dope to experience. But I definitely was familiar, and maybe this could be a good game. But then when I caught that first pass and I broke across, I was like, "Oh yeah, we're cooking."
They couldn't stop the crosser in that game. It was the same. Did you run the same play over
Probably
and over
4
again?
times, yeah. They were hot.
I'm watching it and I'm just like, what is it? And I know because it was a Thursday night game, and so you guys have different prep, right, for those games. And so, do you think that played kind of a role? It's like, all right, it's harder. Is it hard to adjust in that environment?
Yes, it is. It is. It's just how it goes. So you game plan and you try to see what to attack, and then they may adjust halftime. They may adjust the next game. So it's just different. But Kyle does a good job of just putting us in position, adjusting well too. But it's so much that go into the game that you just got to be prepared as a team.
And then you mentioned Mac. You guys had a rapport from before. How much does that play a role in that game, especially when you're stepping up for injured guys, but then also in general, just the quarterback wide receiver rapport?
It's powerful. So just me being connected to Mac, the story, how it all evolved was just amazing. But then us being ready for the opportunity is powerful in itself. So we're trying to think about our careers, but also be within the team. You know what I'm saying? Be team friendly, be a team player. And that's what happened. So we took advantage of our time. But just that connection is real. You know, if people know, you know what I'm saying? It happened in New England. We had it connected. And then coming to a different system, it was still connected. So it's almost just the relationship is strong. And I love that guy, man. He kind of got the Sam Darnold story going. It's looking good. So
I mean, well right now, you're a free agent right now, right? Are you looking, like, how sweet would it be if you guys are like a package deal?
Absolutely. We always tease about it, bro. We always talk about it like, hey, where we going? He signed my jersey. We jersey swapped at the end of the year, and he hey, where I'm going, you know what I'm saying? Always consider it, basically. So, it's love, bro. That's my guy, man. He really helped me in a time in New England where I was changing, growing, transitioning into like who I wanted to be as a player.
You dealt with some tough injuries.
Tough time, you know what I'm saying? Tough phase in New England. He did too. And so for us to have the year we had was just special. It always warms our heart. So I definitely want to be with my guy. I'm gonna see where he's going. I don't think they're gonna let him get out of there though. He's under contract. So we'll see. But they might trade him. You never know. He got good trade value. So but San Fran and Kyle and him know. They know value when they have it. So we're gonna see what happens.
All right, let's talk about the San Francisco. How are you feeling? How's your body?
I feel good,
right
man.
Now? Okay, good.
Making it out healthy is always a blessing.
Well, especially
because
of this is
we gotta talk about
this electrical substation conspiracy theory.
Where are you at with that?
I'm doing good, man. It's funny, bro, because I got a story I'm running off with. So our field on our side is brown, but then the soccer field is always green. So I'm like, bro, why is our field brown?
Dude.
Why, they taking care of it heavy. So I'm not Jay York. I ain't saying nothing crazy. I'm just saying, putting it out there. But I'm a conspiracy theorist, obviously. So I'm like, yeah, nah, bro. Something ain't making sense, but it just is what it is right now.
When did it like start getting into the locker room? Like, when did y'all start talking about it?
Oh, wait. When it kind of went viral, when the guy came underneath the fence and like it just started being a frenzy. You see it on Twitter feed, you see it on the Instagram feed. So we talk about it like, bro, do you think it really affects? But I don't know. And then Jerry Rice said something like, nah, we practiced there, won 2 Super Bowls, so now we got to fight against Jerry. But like, it's just so funny. I love the antics of it, but it is crazy, man, what research can do. So John said he's going to look into it. I heard him say it on the podcast, and we're going to see what happens. But it's just you want the best for the team, so they're going to look out for us because that's the kind of people they are.
Yeah, I got to ask, though, about those injuries. Like, what was the vibe like when dudes go down in the way that they were for you guys this past year? And tell me about, like, Kyle's leadership in the locker room, too, and what that meant.
Yeah, man, you never want to lose your best guys. It's tough, man. Like, even GK, the last game, like, that's tough. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that wasn't the last game, but it's just tough to lose them at a time. Everybody, man. But Kyle and them do a good job of bringing in depth, you know, like bringing in Mac, bringing in me, bringing in Jake Tonjes, these people that can carry the load, you know. We may not be later in our careers or whatever, but we can do the job. And so they do a good job of that, but it just sucks losing your best guys. You fighting against that. You fighting against a good team like Seattle we did at the end, not making excuses, but it's just reality. You know what I'm saying? We have our best players. It can be a different game, but we do a good job of having depth. They do a good job of bringing the team together. And so this year, man, I'm trying to go back and get these guys healthy so we can make another run.
I want to ask, too, because like from a fantasy perspective, like I'm analyzing OCs all the time and seeing what kind of tendencies they have. And it's always the McVay-Kubiak tree that always has these really advantageous offenses. And it started with a lot of these spread concepts. They're running a lot more like 12 and a lot more heavier personnel and such now. But like you playing in that Shanahan system this year, did that feel different for you? Like was there a tangible difference from one offense to another this year?
It's funny because I didn't have Kubiak when I was there, my first tenor. So it was Kyle kind of running everything, OC, drawing the plays. And then when I got back, I didn't really even do my research. So I just walked in the door and Clay came in the room and he was like, we're drawing the plays. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I started to kind of adjust then. So they do a good job working together. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Kyle calls the plays. Kubiak draws it up, gets his team going, looks. And so it was a little different, but similar. It was just kind of like a more, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's better. Kyle knows he adjusted, brought somebody in. And so it was dope. It was dope just to learn. It was the same offense, so I fit in really well. I knew what to do and just playing my role. But those guys do a good job of building the script of the plays, of scout team looks and things like that, what we're going to see. And those guys are gurus, bro. So that's why you see the kind of year we had.
Yeah.
Awesome. Talk to us before we get out of here about the Born and Blessed. I've seen that.
Born and Blessed, man. It's my brand. I got a clothing brand, making music, man, and I got a foundation. But the clothing brand, man, is all about a mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, you was born for a reason. You know what I'm saying? You got a purpose in life. You're here for a reason. So it takes time to figure it out. It takes adversity. It takes relationships, interactions. You know, when you figure it out, though, you know what I'm saying? You born blessed. You know why. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm making music, man. My artist name is Born Blessed. So making gospel rap, man, it's been fun, man.
That's
promoting
awesome.
the youth. And then I got a foundation, man, promoting the kids, helping the kids in underprivileged areas, man. Just trying to get opportunity like I had with football. I had a great coach in my life. Rest in peace his soul, man. He put me in the right path. And what he did for me is powerful. So I'm trying to just create that lane for other kids, man, some way, somehow. It's still a work in progress. It's always work, every lane, but it challenges me, man. So it's fun. Born Blessed,
awesome.
Man. You know?
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Kendrick, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everyone that has been with us at Radio Row this week. Next week, we'll be back with our regular scheduled nerdy analysis from JJ and their prospect guide, everything else. So on behalf of Kendrick, on behalf of JJ, I'm David. We'll see you next time here in the Late Round Fantasy Football Show.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.